right, strap in tight for this one because it's going to be a controversial one, apparently. This box set got announced for release early next year, and it is the ultimate collection of the Ghostbusters movies, and it doesn't include the 2016 remake. Some people have got very upset about that. We're going to talk about this today here, and hopefully we've got something to add to the discussion. Anyway, here's the conversation between myself and the core.
Right, so I think we're recording now. So, today talking about the Ghostbusters Blu-ray set that caused a little bit of kind of a controversy online. A lot of people debate, and it's one of them things like, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? It can be kind of subjective. I don't think there's like a definitive, answer on it, but some people can make a better case than others. And in this situation,
there is a definitive answer. Die Hard is a Christmas movie, so go fuck themselves.
Oh yeah, does tend to be the way it goes. But yeah, this situation, obviously, we've got a Ghostbusters box set that's coming out. It's called the Ultimate, not the Complete, anything like that. It's the Ultimate Ghostbusters Collection. And basically, on the discs, it's got Ghostbusters 1 and 2 from 1984 and 1989, and Ghostbusters Afterlife, because there are only 3 films in that chronology, in that canon. Now, some people, including the director of the 2016 Ghostbusters, have kicked off and said, well, why isn't this movie included? I know it was included in some box sets like that came out when Ghostbusters 2016 came out, but that was more... Here's Ghostbusters 2016 and the originals it's based on to kind of like legitimize it a bit more. Now that we've got like a legitimate sequel, we don't need to delegitimize the franchise by including the not very well liked, not very well successful, not canon remake. It really doesn't belong in there. I could understand if they did include it to a degree, but I tend to think it doesn't belong in there. What do you think?
I mean, it completely doesn't belong. It's like, this would be something that's aimed at fans. Like, you're selling a premium product. It's like, in a box that looks like a ghost trap or something, from what I've seen of it.
Yeah.
With, like, discs full of bonus features and stuff. This is not just, like, for a casual person. It's like, oh, what's this Ghostbusters? I'll just pick up Ghostbusters and see what it's all about. This is for the hardcore fans. And what do the hardcore fans fucking hate? Ghostbusters 2016, because it just sacked off all the previous Ghostbusters stuff to do a new thing. It didn't do the new thing very well. So it's like, why would they want that film in their collection?
Yeah, and without getting into like what we think about the 2016 what we think about the 2016 Ghostbusters film. I mean, obvious disclaimer, we don't like it, but that aside,
I mean, large disclaimer. It's like, it wasn't the worst film ever made.
Yeah,
but it wasn't the best film ever made either. It was a very forgettable popcorn flick. It's not like you're missing Citizen fucking Kane or something.
That's right. If it was its own thing, if it was just like a new thing, it just wasn't got the same film, but just not Ghostbusters branded, it'd have been a very forgettable film. There'd have been no hatred for it. It'd have just been, it is what it is. But we hold it to a higher standard because it's Ghostbusters. And that franchise was lightning in a bottle. It was very game-changing, not just the movies, but everything, like the cartoons, the toys, all that kind of stuff. So they were piggybacking off that, and they didn't do a very good job. So anyway, going back to the point, anyway, about does it belong in this box set? There's a number of comparisons you can make. I'll make my 2 examples, and then you've got one as well that you're wanting to make, another franchise. I'll make my 2 first. Obviously, there's the James Bond movies. This is quite a good... It's not an exact comparison. There are differences in what we're talking about, but... With the James Bond films, you've got obviously originally based on Ian Fleming books, then they kind of ran out of books, carried on making them. It was Eon Productions. This is the, well, to a certain point, complete collection. There are 2 films that could be included in this for argument's sake, but don't belong in there. And that is the 1967 Casino Royale film, based on an Ian Fleming book, so it has legitimacy as a Bond film, but it wasn't made by the same studio. It's not in any way canon with these movies. And there's also Never Say Never Again, which has Sean Connery as James Bond. You can't get more legitimate as Bond than that, you know. And it is based on Thunderball, a book, which is an Ian Fleming book. It's got some very legitimate connections to being part of the franchise, but it's not. It was made. I think it was still. It was released by MGM, the DVD, and well, the Blu-ray was anyway. But it doesn't belong because it's not canon. Plus, like Ghostbusters 2016, this film, despite what certain people said in interviews, it was a massive up yours to Ian Fleming and Eon Productions. And if you want to argue with that, go watch the documentary Everything or Nothing and learn about the lawsuits that went on for years over this. Well, not film, but the bigger picture with Thunderball and Kevin McClory. So this does not belong in here, even though it's Ian Fleming, even though it's Sean Connery. It does not belong. Some people could argue that it does. I have it on my shelf next to it, but it doesn't belong in the collection. So that's not what you think about the film. I, in a way, kind of like Never Say Never Again, despite everything. So it's not my feelings. It's really the context of it's not part of the franchise, not part of the collection. It doesn't belong in a Bond collection. Ghostbusters 2016 is not part of the canon. It's not part of the collection. It doesn't belong in that collection unless it's some kind of expanded universe collection, which it isn't. Second example, and I'm going to let you get to yours in a second, Car. Sorry about this, I'm rambling. Trilogy of the Dead DVD box set came out about 2005, I think it was. It's George Romero movies. It was to coincide with Land of the Dead getting released, which was the fourth film. So these were three zombie films that George Romero did. Weirdly enough, it's the original film, Night of the Living Dead, that is not included in this. What you've got is an extended cut that wasn't endorsed by George Romero. It had a load of extra stuff that they filmed in the 90s, whereas the original film was made in the 60s. Very bizarre decision to put that cut of the film, that unauthorized, kind of, it's not a fan edit because it was made by the producers, I think, of the original film, but not the director. But a very bizarre decision to include that version of the film in this. It doesn't belong in here, really. I mean, you can make a case, you know, some people might prefer it or whatever. And it's George Romero's Trilogy of the Dead. Well, that's not George Romero's film. It doesn't really belong in here. But in this instance, this is a case where it actually is included. Unlike, like the James Bond example, Never Say Never Again isn't included in the box set, nor should it be. Ghostbusters 2016 isn't included in the Blu-ray box set, nor should it be. Anyway, you've got an example.
Yes, and now I've forgotten what the hell the example was. No, I guess it was like Predator films. Like, you could very easily release a box set. I mean, they're kind of already sort of ignoring some of the films out of it.
Yeah.
Like Predators, they just kind of seem to ignore Predators ever happened and go back to the Predator in like the really shit film that they did.
Yeah.
And then they were kind of tying that in with like Aliens, with like some of the alternate deleted fucking scenes. But I guess a better one that I've thought of would be the Alien things. Like, if you brought out an Alien box set now, it's like, okay, do you include Prometheus stuff in there, or do you not include Prometheus? Is that a separate thing? Like, do you have like all of them? Like, what if they had done like the was it Neil Blomkamp kind of Alien they were planning at one point? Like, would you then like sack off like the ones that don't fit with that canon anymore? Like, you know, where Ripley died. So would you ignore, like, you know, you could very easily play this game. There are quite a few things like, okay, if you brought out like a complete Aliens, like, not Aliens, Predators box set, would you include AVP in that?
Yeah, because they were kind of written out of continuity to a degree, not like officially written out. Like, it wasn't like a huge deal about it, but like Ridley Scott, for example, when he was making Prometheus, had said like, I'm pretty sure he singled out the AVPs specifically. He might have done it with some of the other films as well, but I remember he mentioned the AVPs. So yeah, for argument's sake, you could say the same about those. Like, I know there have been some box sets that have and haven't included the AVPs.
I mean, to be fair, the only one that I can recall that does specifically include them was that mega box set, which was like everything fucking Aliens
Yeah.
and Predator. You know, it was like, was it the Legacy? It was like basically as a massive fucking box set with everything in.
I think it was a tie-in with Prometheus, wasn't it?
Could have been. But yeah, it's like, okay, if that's what this is like everything like Ghostbusters, then yeah, it should have had the 2016 filming. It's everything Ghostbusters. But it's not. It's like this is like the definitive collection of like the films, like the first one, the second one, and the third one. There's no film missing there. Like the 2016 film was not in that canon. It wasn't in that continuity. It was like a parody, like remake, kind of reboot. Fuck it, we're not doing anything with the originals. We're just doing our own thing now. And it's like, well, okay, but why would that be in the box set?
Yeah. The problem with Ghostbusters 2016 as well is it was everything surrounding that film. I don't want to get too much into it because we have a rabbit hole. It's not the point of the video, but I think it has got a lot of people backs up because that film was so heavily politicized at the time. It was the director of the movie, some of the cast, like Leslie Jones, who's a race baiting twit, were going out of their way to politicize this movie on a number of levels. One of which was, if you don't like this movie, you're sexist. There was everything else, and just basically an up yours to the original fans.
Trump supporter because this is like, you know, just the whole election, and they were salty that they lost the election. So, you know, they're more salty that the film didn't do well either. But well, as stupid as that is, like, and it is fucking retarded. It's like, what the fuck?
Well, that's the thing, when they announced Ghostbusters Afterlife back in, was it late 20 or early 2019, I think maybe, Leslie Jones, star of the 2016 Ghostbusters, tweeted out something basically saying this sucks, that they're not doing a follow-up to our 2016 movie. This is so much like something Donald Trump would do, you know, like, oh, we're making our own and we're going to do it with the men, not the women. It was like so heavily politicizing that movie. That's why people just find it an affront as a fan of the original movies to have any connection. Like, so to include that 2016 version in this box set would put a lot of people, including myself, off buying it just because it's dirty and we don't want it tied in. And there's a very similar thing with Die Hard. I and you hated the fifth movie. Now, when I got the box set for the movies on Blu-ray, when I upgraded, I could have paid less for some reason. The one with all 5 films was actually cheaper than the ones with just the 4 films, and I actually paid a little bit more just to get the one with 1 to 4 because I didn't want number 5 in that collection because it's anathema to everything that those original movies are. I mean, it's
like
not
I said, it's even a case of like, this is a premium like collector. This isn't just like something you would go and buy on the shelf at fucking HMV or something like that. This is like a premium, like, this is for collectors. This isn't just like, all right, I want to pick up Ghostbusters. Like, this is like the extended, you know, fucking fancy edition.
Yeah, it's like £150, I think. This is the 4K version I'm thinking of. It's got like each film on a Blu-ray disc and a 4K disc. So 3 films times 2, that's 6 discs. And there's another 2 discs with extra features, so that's 8 discs. You get a reprint of a book that, well, it was rare, but the reprint obviously is going to be out there now. Of a making of Ghostbusters book. So obviously this is made for fans. This is made for people that remember the original movie. The 2016 movie, some people liked it. If you did, that's fine. It's all subjective. But
take out a lot of the political shit around it. It's like, it was a moderately unoffensive movie if you take out all the other shit. It's just one of those lazy ass sequels that nobody really asked for. Yeah. And ultimately, nobody would really remember after it was done if it hadn't been tied into the whole fucking gender stuff and like the whole fucking like Hillary Clinton fucking political campaign kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like fucking the sort of lunatics with the Trump derangement syndrome kind of like lump this in for bizarre fucking reasons with like losing the election. So it's like, yeah, it pisses them off as much as when they lost the election. that this film isn't as popular as they want it to be. It's like, but it's a shit film. Like, what do you want?
Yeah. And the thing is, what you're saying there as well, you're not having a go. You're just saying it how it is because that is how it is. And it's very unfortunate because back in 2015, when that film was coming out and it was being made, I was quite interested. I like the look of a lot of stuff they're doing and the idea of it. And having it as a female Ghostbusters, I thought that's interesting because they're not just trying to remake it. They're bringing something new to the table. And to be honest, you can have some pretty good like female comedians at times, and I think some of them were. Melissa McCarthy has a moment. She just didn't have that many in this movie, unfortunately. She just played the usual "I'm a fat woman and I'm gonna fall down, laugh at me." It's not really funny, is it? But I forgot, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so that was what I was going to say. Something you don't know. I was going to drop this on you during the video and just see what you think about this. Now, this isn't as a result of the backlash. This was always going to be the case, but we've only just learnt this now. It's probably of like little consequence, but this box set also allows you a digital access to the movies to stream them off some service that they offer. You know, like sometimes get like a digital bundle with your physical discs. You get a code, and through that, you do actually get the 2016 movie with this box set. You get digital access to that movie as well, which kind of makes sense because it's Sony and they're probably going to push the movie if they can without including it in the box set. But that got announced. Well, that got discovered, I think, today, or I discovered it today anyway through Ghostbusters News on YouTube. But what do you think about
Doesn't bother me in the slightest. You know, it's
that?
like,
Yeah. Oh, it don't bother me.
whatever. If I did buy this thing, I wouldn't be like downloading the fucking shitty film.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and that's not as a result of the backlash. They've not said, all right, we'll include it. It's too soon to like put on a disc, but we'll give you digital access. Are you happy now? Wasn't the case at all. It was always planned, apparently. So yeah, I don't think that's like a huge. I mean, you could be I think we would be being petty and salty at that point if we were to. I'm not getting this now. I know it's not on the disc, but it's still there. It's connected, and they're insulting us. You know, that would be like that's your man baby syndrome stuff. You know, but yeah, funny story. It's still on. It's been ongoing for a while now, like a few days, because this box set got announced. You were saying you might actually buy this box set just as like an up yours as well.
I don't know. It was tempting.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, like I don't have the. I may have them on DVD, but I don't have them like on Blu-ray, and I haven't seen Buffnuts Afterlife, so this would be the first time I'd be seeing it. So you know, for me, it would potentially be worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not,
like you say, it's
not completely motivated by hatred of SJWs.
but like you say, it is a premium product, so it would be nice to own, and it is a big franchise as well. It's one that they haven't messed up as well. It's like, I mean, because the remake doesn't count, so it's not messed up. It's like with Star Wars, they've released those on like Blu-ray and 4K. It's like the Blu-ray box set I bought because of the extra features. But ultimately you get the special editions, which are bad, and you can get the despecialized versions like not pirated, but well, I suppose they are pirated, on a Blu-ray disc in HD. So that's a good alternative to have. But there are certain box sets that, even though I love Star Wars, they did do a Star Wars box set, and it has all the Disney stuff, which I'm not a fan of, and it has the prequels, so I didn't buy it. I mean, those films do belong in there because they are technically canon within as franchises go. I mean, to me, it's just the original trilogy, but again, this is a case of my feelings don't really count. I mean, my feelings are that the Disney Star Wars movies don't belong in that set because it's only 3 movies, but my feelings aren't the facts. The facts are those totally belong in that set because the studio that owns those movies has never retconned them. These aren't remakes. These are legitimate sequels in an official sense. They belong in there. So
Yeah.
So yeah, you could speak about this on like so many levels. You could say that the movie's an insult to the fans, therefore it doesn't belong in there. I think that's a weak argument, to be fair, again, because that's getting into your feelings. To me, it's a remake. It's not even good business sense to include it because of so many people actively disliked that movie. I'm not a hater of it. I just thought it was a bit crap.
Like, oh, it made all right money at the box office. It made good in this chart and stuff. And it's like, okay, but does anybody give a shit about it now beyond the political arguments that you guys have forced on it?
Yeah.
No, it was not a great film.
So I mean, a lot of the film review space, whether it's the Hollywood Reporter, like doing like writing articles, and YouTubers like Grace Randolph that are far left, the filmmakers themselves, the director Paul Feig, the cast, Leslie Jones, all these people that gave this unfortunate movie an aura of a weaponization of ideology. That's what's got a lot of people resenting this movie. It wasn't that bad of a film otherwise. I could have put up with it if it was. Sorry, what?
So I was saying it's just forgettable. It's not an awful film. It's like I've seen it once. Like I say, even if I got the full thing with like the download copy and stuff, I won't watch it again. Not because I'm like, oh, I'm like boycotting it. I won't watch it again because it was kind of dull. Like I've seen it once. It wasn't that good. It didn't wow me. It didn't make me think, shit, I want to watch this again. Like I will literally be happy if I never see it again. And not in like a bit like, oh, I don't want anything to do. It's like it just wasn't that good.
I'm trying to think of any other franchises where they would do a box set and it would be like a weird combination of like movies, like a series of movies, then remakes, then abandoning the remakes to go back to the originals. Halloween would be an example, but I think that's a bit tricky because I think there's various different studios involved with that. At least with Ghostbusters, it's all one studio. It's like Sony, isn't it? I think, or Columbia Pictures as it used to be, with the movies. I'm trying to think of any other examples, but like I think the best one I can think of is the James Bond one. It's, you know, like I say, you've got Never Say Never Again in particular. It was a big up yours to Ian Fleming and Eon Productions by Kevin McClory and also Sean Connery, who wasn't on good terms with the producers. Despite what he said in interviews, I know he said it wasn't in competition with Octopussy that came out the same year. Good job, because it lost. But yeah, it's not an exact comparison, but I think it's a close one anyway. And like I said, Never Say Never Again would not have any place belonging in the James Bond collection box set unless it was some kind of like box set acknowledging like an expanded, you know, collection of movies. I don't know what else you would include in that. I mean, for argument's sake, you could include Austin Powers or whatever you wanted at that stage. But there you go. Anyway, we've rambled on. I think the video's getting a bit too long now. So, any final points if you want to make it quick?
No, nothing that comes to mind.
Well, it's probably the last video of the year anyway. So unless we do anything else, which is doubtful, hope everybody's had a good Christmas. Today is the 27th of December. And if we don't do anything else before the end of the new year, Happy New Year to everybody. And we'll see what happens if there's any more content we can put out. So, all right, were you?
Yes.
All right, nice one. All right, over and out. Bye.